said good evening to everybody.
Hey,
How great is that?
What supposed to do? Oh, I got mine turned on. Let me turn mine on so we can hear it squawk.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So thank you, anybody who's people who are watching live, people who are watching after the fact. We always appreciate your coming along with us. Happy to have you here, and certainly hope we can get your participation during the stream or afterwards by leaving comments for us. We read everything, and if you're live on the stream and leaving comments, we're certainly going to try to address them. Hey, here's a nefarious guy that missed. I think he missed our last stream. I think he said he had another engagement or something. Philip, build neat antennas and harass SAB. Yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
Maybe that's our theme for the next time. We'll just get on and harass Tim.
No, okay, do it now. We'll do it live.
Hey, fantastic. Hey, who do we have here? VA3DLO. Hey, Don, Northern Ontario, Canada. Don, tell me where in Northern Ontario you're from, because I know your call. For some reason, I was thinking Windsor, but that's not Northern Ontario. So tell me where you're at and what else we got. So DLO's giving me a little bit more information. And yeah, fellow Canadian, here we go. It's always nice to fly the colors. Okay, here we go. So we got Philip coming back and saying here, Don, KC0, Quebec, November Alpha, Don in Minnesota. Hey, Don, thanks for joining us.
We're talking about
yeah, it's cold everywhere right about now, but Minnesota's not getting any breaks either. Elliott Lake. Okay, Elliott Lake. So for people who don't know Ontario geography, Elliott Lake is north of Lake Huron, and it's probably, Don, you can correct me if I'm wrong, probably about an hour's drive north of Lake Huron. So yeah, you guys are definitely Northern Ontario.
Isn't that where Les Stroud hangs out?
It's up towards there. He's more Temagami way, which is more to the east. He's got a cottage up there, and he actually did a Survivorman episode up there in bug season, if you can believe it. That's a tough nut he is. But yeah, it's not too far away. Mind you, Ontario's vast up there.
You should take a radio with him, but that's just me.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Don from Minnesota. Howdy from Burley, Minnesota. Don't you know?
You got to say it the right way, though. Minnesota, right?
Oh, is that right? Have I got the pronunciation wrong?
Yeah. No. They actually pronounce the T like a T.
Minnesota. Oh, and I'm slurring it a little bit.
Oh, well,
so
we all do.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? The big city that's about 30 minutes to the east of me. What's the name?
Windsor?
The Maple Leafs play out of there.
Toronto. Right.
The correct pronunciation really is Toronto, but people up here don't say that. It's like Toronto.
Yeah.
It's like that. I guess it's a Cincinnati type thing, because don't they do the same thing with Cincinnati?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, Cincinnati is Cincinnati.
Oh,
that's what the people in Cincinnati do.
I know they put spaghetti in their chili, which is weird. That's it. That's all I know about Cincinnati.
I think you've mentioned that before. But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, chili is just a really good spaghetti sauce. Sounds all right to me. Hey, Juan from Chile. Hey, Juan, how are you doing? 7-3, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, fun fact. I just sold an antenna to a guy in Chile, and he's telling me that antennas are restricted import down there.
Really?
What?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Really?
Yeah, well, I did both of those things. I said, what? And I said, really? So
just a hunk of wire, it's restricted. Huh.
Maybe they're worried that the Shining Path or someone's going to get a hold of them. I don't know. But
creeping socialism.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
So
okay, hey, look at Scott. We got Scott from New Hampshire. Awesome. Love to hear people from New England coming in. Scott W2GZ I got to do the American pronunciation. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining us. Oh, here we go. Don's going to tell us Minnesota.
Oh,
Minnesota.
So he does soften the
Or is
T.
it Minna?
Minne.
You're Canadian. I think that's A, like Canadian, eh?
Hey?
Minnesota.
Well, you know how they come up with the name for Canada, right? They put a bunch of letters into a cup, they shook it, and the first letter came out, and they said C, eh? N, eh?
Back in the 50s and 60s, I remember growing up, and there were a whole bunch of companies named Adenac Hardware, Adenac Plumbing. It's like, what the heck is Adenac? And people just took Canada and put it in reverse order and named their company after it. That was a real thing.
Huh.
Okay, I am in Gaylord, Minnesota, or 65 miles southwest of the Twin Cities. Well, you're in the tropical section of Minnesota.
That's
then.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is funny, right?
And if he's a Vikings fan, that's too bad. My wife's a big Vikings fan, so once again.
I just got back from Grand Rapids up there. Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Hey, VA3 Don. So Don will know what I'm talking about because I just mentioned that jokingly because here I am in Southern Ontario and the people in Northern Ontario say that I live in the hams, right? I get talking to a ham up there. Oh, you're in the banana belt.
Yeah.
It's because we don't get the winters. They do.
Your trees have leaves.
Yeah.
They have trees.
All right. So Don is a big POTA guy. Very cool. Don, make sure you come back and let us know. And I'm running behind on the comments as we get going here. It's wonderful to see the participation. I'll get to your comment, but Don, let us know how many parks have you activated? What's your contact count look like? Give us some stats. Let us know if you're a big POTA guy and Minnesota's the land of Paul Bunyan. You got to be doing some good big things there. So I want to hear about those. All right, let's talk about. Here we go back with Philip. Saltines, crackers, in your chili. That's interesting. So my wife is Portuguese, and their hearty dish was to mix rice with chili. I thought that was a great idea, especially if the chili is really spicy.
So she's Portuguese. Does she eat linguiça?
I've never heard that word.
It's a Portuguese sausage. So my father's family was in New Bedford, Massachusetts, which is a big Portuguese. In fact, my great grandfather was off the boat Portuguese. So I got some Portuguese blood in me, and we used to eat linguiça all the time. It's great.
Geez. Now,
kielbasi, but it's a different season.
You must be familiar with chorizo.
Oh, sure.
And so I know that the Italians have it as well, and that's like a local pronunciation.
Yeah,
chorizo, where most people would call it chorizo, or something similar to that.
Or us terrible Americans call it like chorizo.
That's right. Oh, I'm running way behind, guys. I gotta catch up a bit here. Okay. K2CJB, loved your mobile truck install a lot.
Thank you. It's still in there, still works.
One day, Chris, one of these streams, you got to literally put together a slideshow for us, just to walk us through it. I think that'd be great. Yeah. You did such a nice job with it. Okay, Dan, hello, fellow outdoor hams. Hey, glad to have you with us on a chilly winter's evening.
Not an outdoor ham today. No.
Well, you know what? If I didn't work full time, I'd find a way. And we got Winter Field Day coming up, guys.
Madness.
So I know Tim's going to be out there. Okay. All right. Hey, Don says he would love more help on mobile grounding. You know what? That's a common thing.
It is.
You go out.
Find one of those charcoal grills in the park, the kind that they've cemented into the ground.
Yep. Well, I think he's talking about in the car.
I think he's talking like bonding when you're trying to get all the different elements of the vehicle to the same potential, RF potential, and you have to do like you use this.
Okay. Well, can't you ground to the chassis? I don't understand.
Well, yeah, but you have to do it multiple places. You can't just run a sheet, like a braid from like the body to the chassis, because you have to. The exhaust system actually floats, so you have to bond that to the chassis. And
Okay,
it's a lot. Wow. There's a lot you have to do. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, just going to move down the list a little bit here because we got some other stuff. So DLO, Dan's coming back. Dan, I'm hoping I'm getting your name right. I know it was either Dan or Don. I got to scroll back up. Don. I'm sorry, Don. I'm gonna practice your name. So he's kidding with us. All right then. Lost Iowan. Well, hey, he's a brother of Kevin, our QRP friend from Iowa. All right, Andy Holman.
Not so flat.
Sorry, no. What's that?
Minnesota's not so flat.
That's big change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Land of lakes. Andy is from Michigan. Hey, thanks for joining us, Andy. November Bravo 8 Fox. Great call too. All right, so Philip's doubling down on the saltines. So I think he's got a favorite. And you know what? So I'm going to cut Philip some slack here. I mean, he must know his chili, right? It gets so doggone cold in Georgia in the winter that sometimes you have to put a little windbreaker on.
They put like okra in it. And
I was going to say, you were saying Georgia cold? What?
Andy Schmidt, 4 is my check-in number, coming from minus 22C in Western Alberta. All right, another fellow Canuckistan. Wonderful to have you with us, Arnold. Thanks for joining in. Minus 22. My manager at work, he lives in Calgary, and he's been giving me the daily updates, the horror stories of minus 35 with wind chills, colder than that, and it's like, they talk about Eastern. I don't know if you guys hear the same thing, Eastern U.S. and Western U.S. Mm-hmm. But here in the East, we talk of the guys from out West. They're nuts, right? They're insane because they'll say, "Oh, it's minus 30, whatever, big deal." But they'll say to you, "Oh, the coldest I've ever been was in Toronto when it was minus 4 because it was so humid."
Come out the lake, man.
Yeah, it feels colder than minus 30 out west, and I have a hard time with this concept, never having experienced that.
I give up checking numbers. I just do the Ollie the Weatherman thing, Cold.
It's gonna be cold.
So there's an app I have. Canada, we have something here called the Weather Network, and I've noticed in recent weeks there's a banner at the top for you to click. Is it cold enough that I should wear gloves? And it's like, you need an app to tell you that?
Yes.
Now I guess the answer is yes.
It's a dry cold. That's funny. Yeah.
Hey, Don. Don says there's only 3 inches of snow so far. That's amazing.
Wow.
Hey, we got Steve, Kilo 2 Charlie Whiskey, another great call sign. Hey, Steve, thanks for joining us. Nice to have you on board. All right, and what else we got? We got Philip back. UCLA is down near me, upper corner of Lower Alabama. I've heard of urban sprawl, but I had no idea UCLA extended as far to the east as Georgia. All right, that's a California university, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But I think he means Louisiana.
I'd help him out if he didn't say, harass me, but.
Yeah. Okay, here's Don. Chili be awesome in minus 35C up here. Oh, yeah. There's nothing like fresh. And I make chili. I made some on the weekend.
Really?
And,
I opened a can of Hormel. Hot with beans.
So
we do it.
And did the dogs enjoy it?
They get some. They always get some. They get some of everything.
Oh, it wasn't for them. Oh, okay.
So you fed your dog's chili. Mm-hmm. How'd that work out?
He eats what I eat.
Anything.
He eats what I eat.
All right, Don. Okay, Don's getting back. Our POTA guy, big POTA guy from Minnesota. I have 30 activations. Well done. 1,671 confirmed QOs.
Wow.
Well done, Don. Awesome.
Say
Great
hello.
stuff.
Yeah, say hello.
Oh, there's the pooch.
He's asking.
Hey,
for
there he is. What's the doggy's name?
His name's Gridley.
Gridley.
Charles Vernon Gridley is his name.
Charles Vernon.
Oh,
Gridley.
I like it. It's very distinguished.
For the naval historians out there, they know that. So.
Okay then. Don, as a hunter, he's got 261 contacts. What else is Don saying from Minnesota? Minnesota. I don't know. I got to practice.
I think it was Minnesota.
A comfy 5.5 degrees Fahrenheit here in Minnie with a brisk 25 northwest. From the northwest, that's a cold breeze. Yeah.
Oof.
Absolutely.
Feels like temperatures 10 below.
Yeah. Will Gilliam, hoping to get an HF station. Maybe a used 7300. Wish me luck from Kilo India 7. Oscar X-Ray Alpha. Hey, Will, good luck to you, my friend. All the people that I have heard on there, it's funny, tuning up and down the HF bands. It sure seems to me like 50% of people are running 7300s. And I've never heard anybody say anything bad about them.
That's right.
I don't think you can go wrong with a 7300. So good luck with that, Will. Okay, back to Don. Mobile grounding. Many ways you can do that. Virtual ground planes or run radials on the ground. Okay, so we're talking about a parked situation.
If it's parked, that's different. Correct.
Didn't you just do a whole chicken wire thing?
Yeah, that was, but that had nothing to do with the car. We were out of the car and well away from it at that point. So, okay, so Don weighs in with further. If you're portable on foot,
Yes. Yeah.
Or I think he's weighing in where you did, Chris. Use grounding straps.
Yeah.
On the car. Okay, Don, I do the grill thing when in park for sure, but mobile ground to chassis is a big thing.
Yes. In multiple places. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, hang on a second. I've never done this, all right? But it seems to me the last time I installed a car radio, there was a ground in the wiring harness, right? I mean, does the wiring harness itself ground in multiple places? Can't you just hook into the wiring harness and use the ground there?
That's a DC ground. The problem is with RF is that motors have a lot of noise, RF noise.
The ignition, yeah.
Right. And the exhaust system, as an example, can actually act as an antenna. So for that noise. So what you have to do is ground that, get the exhaust system to RF ground. And also like in the case of a pickup truck, the bed and the cab, while they're bolted to the same chassis, it's not necessarily a really good RF ground. So you want to put in a braid between them. Same with like the hood on the engine compartment. You want to put a braid around those hinges just to make sure the DC ground may be there, but the RF ground is not that good. So that's why you can't put enough straps in to get the thing grounded right. You just can't.
Don't let it be said that you can't come here and learn something.
Yeah, because now I won't take credit for it. There's a guy, VE3TWM, I think is his call, and you want to talk about a guy's got a mobile installation. He's got this pickup truck with an incredible installation in it. And I watched his videos, and there was another guy, I forget his call, that has a website that talks all about grounding and chokes and all this stuff you got to do. And a mobile environment is really not good for radio. I mean, you're using a compromised antenna. You've got a power system that's, even though you think it's DC, it's not that clean. You've got all this other noise, like between USB ports that are in your vehicle, the ignition, especially like coil on plug, which my truck has. I actually get some coil on plug, like AM interference on FM repeaters that I can hear sometimes.
See, the only mobile installation I ever did was with the FT350 or AT350, right. The Yaesu one. It was the 2-meter 440. Yeah. And I had a DIN slot. It went right in. Yep. And wired it up, hooked it, and I never had an issue. Yeah. Now
it's with the VHF and UHF, you can get away with a lot more. But with like HF, it's a whole other animal. So, yeah.
All right, let's. Don's given us a little bit more information. When parking POTA, if truck is running, it still produces truck noise in our 40 meter and 80 meter.
Yeah, so I would recommend if your radio, like in my case, the 7100 has a really good noise blanker in it, so I've got that. I always have that on. You really have to, and you can do some tricks with some of the filtering on it to get it sound a little better. Try running the. What I did was I put the power lines through a large toroid, and also same with the coaxes. I did the same thing to just kind of choke the noise before it gets into the radio. Like you want to get that close to the radio. So. Yeah, it really is a difficult environment to operate in. So,
good stuff. Hey, Don had one more comment, guys. I'm not sure what this means. 1115 MSL here in Minnesota Valley in southwest Minnesota. Sea level? Does that have something to do with sea level?
Oh, maybe it means sea level. Could be.
Let us know, Don. Autocorrect read as saltiness. He's talking about Tim. Tim making his comment about being picked on. Good stuff, Philip. All right, I corrected myself. Oh, okay. All right, here we go. 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, geez, that's pretty rough for you, Georgia.
It's balmy. Yeah, it's balmy.
Activate the no. I'm teasing. Because there was a time here. I think Toronto had we had something like a foot of snow, and this was going back, I don't know, early 90s or something. And the city was completely ill prepared to deal with it after years of budget cuts. They called in the army. They called in the army to shovel snow and to clear the streets. And Toronto was the butt of jokes for years across the rest of the country for that.
I'll bet.
It's a dry cold. We were talking about cold. Holy cow, guys. I am so far behind in comments. I'm really sorry. I'm going to try to breeze through some of these, but I want to give everybody a chance to be heard here. Kilo 7 Victor Phoenix, Arizona.
It's time to hire a producer. Yeah.
Virgil. Yeah, no kidding. Hey, Virgil, thanks for joining us. Wonderful to have you with us.
54 in Phoenix. Okay. Any houses for sale out there? I'm on my way.
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got? Dave Phillips back. I've lost 45 pounds in the past year.
Good for you.
Holy cow. Congratulations, Philip.
Awesome.
That's a big deal, and well done.
That's a whole grizzly.
Yeah. So my integral insulation is decreased. Right. You know what? I get it. I make fun, but would I love to have Georgia winters instead of Canadian winters? Yeah. Juan Gonzalez from Chile again. I'm seeing you on my mobile phone. Do I qualify to confirm contact with 4G. You on the 4G band? That's perfect.
EXCC on 4G.
Absolutely fantastic. Hey, we got Scout Shane. Thanks for joining us. Nice to have you once again, Shane. All right, what do we got here? Don, minus 18 WC wind below chill. Zero.
That's the wind chill. Yep.
Minus 18? Oh, now, it starts getting cold around there.
Yeah, you think?
Minus 19 feels like minus 27 Celsius here. There is a point. I'm trying to remember where it is. Is it minus 30 where Celsius and Fahrenheit match up? I think it's in that range. Okay. Don, VA3DLO, you run vintage old gear. Put a comment in. Tell us what you're running. Guys, we may never get to our content for tonight if this keeps up, but that's not a complaint.
We have content?
We have, well, one of us has gone to some effort to put together a little bit.
Oh boy, you hear that, Tim, right?
Listen, I try to do show prep, okay?
Yes, you do. I'm cutting you slack.
I've got a lot. I have a lot of stuff, and
I'm feeling feisty tonight, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Don, all the major snow went south to Iowa this year just to interfere with the caucus, I'm thinking. All right, electromagnetic mischief. Try to visit something other than K2175. 44 visits in 2034.
Well, you mean 2024? Oh, that can't be right. Huh.
Philip, I think we need you to clarify on that one.
Maybe that's a different park. 44.
Oh, you know what? Hold on.
He's lost so much weight in his fingers that they don't type right anymore.
Visit a new park. What's that? Kilo 2175, 44 times. That's impressive. I wonder how far away the park was from him. Okay, we got Don again talking about some of his classic radios. Yaesu FT950. Now, Don, I didn't think that was an old radio. In terms of old, but for CB, I run a Midland 13 898B, 1977 vintage. Now that's a classic. And fixing up a Cobra Cam 88 CB. Wonderful stuff. Okay, here we go. Kilo 7, Victor Zulu, bonding more than grounding. Yeah. All right, Don, for POTA, he uses a 480 SAT. Now, Don, I'm thinking that is not the 200-watt version. That's got to be the 100-watt. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe that's what Kim, K6YYL uses. She uses a 480 as well, very successfully. So, Don, you definitely got a winning combination there. Okay. New ignition packs in trucks, notoriously hard to cure with their noise.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely
right. Don, back using some Harbor Freight cases for transport and ease of setup. Over here in Canada, I use a product by the name of Maximum. It's a Canadian tire brand, but it's made by a manufacturer in Italy, of all places. And very good, but never buy them at full price. It's the old Canadian Tire rule for Canadians. You never, ever pay full price of Canadian Tire. You watch the flyers and wait till something goes on sale, because typically it's going to go on for half price. Okay. I'm gonna try my best at your name. Yaroslav Osmomizel. I hope I got it right, or at least partially right. I said it with respect. Going to upgrade to General this week. Fantastic. Thinking of eventually getting an FT891 for mobile base station. You can't go wrong with an FT891. It's a good, solid, well-made radio with a lot of terrific features. So good luck with your upgrade. Don, RF Motors produce tons of RF through the entire truck.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing how much RF gets generated.
He says braid straps are key. So I think, Tim, you were mentioning braid straps.
Wasn't me.
Nope.
Might have been Chris.
No, I was yeah. You got to use braid straps.
Okay. Will's back. Sounds like diesel-powered vehicles are best for HF portable. Anyone got an opinion or experience on this?
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't. If somebody has a comment, please let us know.
So,
all right.
I just checked that we, in fact, are live on Twitter too. Twitter Spaces.
Hey, fantastic.
Yeah, so is Coffee and Ham Radio too.
Same time?
Yep.
Those dogs with fleas.
Oh no, we got a tough time slot. I've always told you
this is our time slot. This is the one we've used for many moons now.
They know we have a license.
A number of reasons. In the fall, you're competing with football. You've got the Wi-Fi coming on. You've got there's always another couple.
You know what?
It's a tough time slot.
And that's cool. I have nothing but respect for those guys, and the world is big enough for all of us. Okay, so Don agrees with Kilo 2 Charlie Juliet Bravo on strapping tons.
Yep.
Philip back. Flammenwerfer's fun way to clear snow. Does anybody know what a Flammenwerfer is?
Yeah, it's a German flamethrower.
You don't know what it is
if you say it in German.
That's
Flammenwerfer. Yeah. Okay, I guess that would be fun. Hey, Ryan, Kilo Charlie 9, Oscar Zulu Alpha. Hello, and thanks for joining us, Ryan. Great little avatar you got there, too. FT891 is a great rig. Absolutely. Okay, Don from Northern Ontario, Elliott Lake. Ha, ha, ha. 4G band. Funny. Yeah, that's great. That is funny. William, minus 40 for Celsius and Fahrenheit to be the same. Thanks for the clarification on that, Will. Feet above sea level. Okay, so that's what Don was talking about. A little bit of elevation there, as long as it's around the other terrain. Minus 40 C. Okay, Arnold giving us that information.
Well, no, that's a fun fact. Yes, those two curves meet at minus 40 C. So the same temperature.
And you know what? It doesn't matter what scale you're on. That's cold.
Yeah.
That's like stupid cold. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I run Cobra Cam 88 CB radio vacuum tube. Holy cow. That's amazing. I run a Midland 13898B base CB crystals from 1977. I think they'd have to be, because is anybody even making crystals?
Like there is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you can still get them.
You can get them.
Can you?
Yep.
That's good to know.
I had a guy from Australia contact me, and he had bought, I don't know, some marine. It was a marine radio, and he was looking for an antenna to do X or Y. And usually when someone tells me what radio they're using, I usually do a little bit of homework. And it turns out this is like an old, like 1970s crystal radio, and he wanted to convert it into like HF. I was like, well, you have to get the crystals. Yeah. And I was like, well, I got all these channels. I don't know what they are. And I was like, well, turn it around on the front, and usually they write them in pencil on the side or whatever. And it was all like, marine band stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you need a crystal. And he was using words like ton, TONNE, and meters and things like that. And I kind of was able to deduce from the conversation that he was overseas, right? Well, Australia specifically, right?
Yep.
And it was like, oh, okay. And I was like, it's like, yeah, but you probably don't want to buy one for me because it'll take a month for me to ship it to you. And he goes, oh, I didn't realize you were in the States. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Cool. Excuse me. I am planning to active on Saturday with a expected high of 10 above zero.
Ham radio stuff.
Your trooper. Hey, Don, take a moment, if you don't mind. Give us a comment. Tell me how you're going to dress. And are you going to be in the car? Or are you going to be outside of the car? Because if you're in the car, it doesn't matter how you dress. But if you're actually going to sit at a picnic table or something, I'm curious to know what your secret is for dressing in seriously cold weather.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to be sitting at a picnic table.
Okay.
If he is, he's a real hardcore POTA guy.
Well, not after all that mobile discussion. No.
Okay, let's so Don, he also has an old Kenwood TS530 he needs to look at fixing. That's a fun project right there. Excuse me. Okay. What do we got here? Hey, here's Yaroslav. I hope I'm getting your name right. Funny, it's 12 degrees Celsius in Texas, which is considered freezing here. And the last time it snowed, things are pretty catastrophic. Well, you folks don't even have snow plows down there, do you? You don't have anything to clear stuff. I don't think you do. But now, West Texas, doesn't West Texas get some pretty doggone cold weather?
Oh, it sure does. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we used to round up the cattle out there on the horse in January, in Abilene, the winds would be coming out of the west. You get a mighty big snowstorm.
Remember the Alamo. All right. Does anybody here doing D-Star HF while in POTA mode? Hey, good question.
Wow.
Haven't done that myself. All right. When we do POTA, we seem to get a lot of the VE3 guys around Hamilton and Montreal areas. So Hamilton is literally right next door to me. I was born in Hamilton. For years I worked in Hamilton. I drove from my town, Burlington, which is neighbors Hamilton. So I'm very familiar with Hamilton. There is a group of relatively new hams. When I say relatively new, they've probably only been in the hobby 5 or 6 years, and I hear them all the time on one of the local repeaters, and they are so gung-ho on POTA. These guys are incredible. Now, I can only presume they're retired because they're going out all the time, and they're just and they found some parks that overlap, because there's a number of parks that when you go to there, you're not just activating one park, but you're activating multiple parks.
Yeah.
There's this thing called the Niagara Biosphere, which runs along the Niagara Escarpment all through this area. And if you've got a park within there, and the Niagara Biosphere is a UN recognized entity, then it counts for an additional park. And I know some of these guys work from parks where they get, it's like there's 3 FIRs or 4 FIRs. Wow. So yeah, these guys are nuts. And so if you've worked anybody from Canada, that's a VE3, chances are great that it's those guys. No, hats off to them. They've done a lot of stuff. Okay, Don. Let's go back. Another Don. Deutsch Flamer through. I think that's more German flamethrower stuff. All right.
That's
all right. So, Arnold, does the weather, temperature, humidity have effects on performance on radio transmission? If so, what frequency bands are affected the most? I know that the sun has effects on which band to use. Which of you two guys want to take that one?
Right, I'm going to go with. I don't know. I'm guessing at this, but temperature I don't think really has an effect. It might, but I think
you can get a marine layer with some of the UHF for temperature inversions and things like that.
That's true, yeah. But I think humidity may have more of an effect, and probably on the VHF and UHF. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It affects the equipment more than it will the signals itself.
Yeah. You get
right. The signals, I don't think it may have some, but yeah, you're right. More in the equipment.
You get all kinds of crazy atmospheric effects, though. I mean, you've got lightning, you've got humidity, you can get temperature inversions on VHF, and I mean, it does. You know, it does, but it's not. It has more effect on the operators and the equipment than it does on the actual.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know. Although it's interesting, like in the winter time, it just seems that. It just seems that like 40 seems to be a little more open. Is that me or is that? I don't know.
So yes, but I don't think that has anything to do with whether the temperature or the humidity.
Yeah, maybe because of the sun.
And Tim sort of we're talking about HF. So certainly VHF and to a certain extent some of the lower UHF spectrum, you can get things like ducting. Where you sitting there. I was listening to my rig last summer, and a guy from North Carolina came booming in on one of the 2-meter simplex channels. Well, that's completely unheard of, and he proceeded to rattle off, a dozen different contacts with people in my area, and boom, he's gone. So there are things like that happen on the VHF and UHF bands from time to time. 6 meters is another would be affected by something.
Yeah, for sure.
But Tim, I think you made a really good point, because you're talking about, okay, let's talk about conditions, summertime versus wintertime, and we tend to think that 160 and 80 and 40 are better bands to work in the winter than in the summer, but a lot of that has to do with atmospheric noise, i.e., thunderstorms. You don't have thunderstorms, you don't have that QRN. Pushing the S meter higher.
Well, the other thing too is, of course, you get longer nights, right? So there's less, less ionic interference in the atmosphere in general in the northern hemisphere. So, like I said, the other day I was working 160, and it was nice because just being 20 below and dark at 4 o'clock, you just get that whole 160 meter vibe, for lack of a better word.
Yep. That's a great question. Great question, Arnold. Thanks for raising it. I'm no expert on that. I'm sure there are people who are a lot smarter than me who could weigh in and give you additional detail on it. But as far as from my perspective goes, I think we've done a pretty good job of covering the basics. All right, we got Don. Hey, I need an Amphenol connector mic for my Cobra Cam 88. Anyone know where I can get one?
You go out.
I'm not sure I know what the Amphenol connector mic is. That the ring that the screws on, similar to what ICOM uses?
Yeah, like is it a 4-pin with the screw on?
So here we go. He says a 4-pin Amphenol connector.
Yeah,
965. So that was a pretty standard connector back in the day.
So, right?
Yeah, back in the 670s and 80s. I'm thinking.
Yeah, the 4-pin CB mic connector.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll let you know if we get something on that, Don. Hey, Mike, N2MAK, he's late, so feel free to start over. Okay, guys, I'm going to roll this back up to the top of the comments, and we'll run through this again for Mike. Well, maybe not.
Be careful. Okay. Don't joke. Don't joke. He's a hamfluencer now.
Oh, yeah. A hamfluencer. Where'd that come from? Tell us the story.
Newly minted ham influencer.
What does that mean?
That means he's on YouTube, and he's like a Kardashian or
well, but he's been there for a while, and he's
but now he's getting promos and perks and things like that.
Oh, is he now? Okay.
I set him up with a coupon code.
Did you?
Yeah, so I set him up with a coupon code. So now he's a handfluencer.
Hey, Mike, just an FYI, Tim hasn't done that for me, so you are something special.
I certainly have.
Neither one of us. Not just. I don't want to say anything.
Certainly have. Stop it.
All right. Hey, look at this way. Your colorful commentary is better than coffee. Thank you very much. No shade intended to our colleagues over at Coffee and Ham Radio, for sure. All right. Abilene gets snow, if I recall. So we're talking about West Texas again.
Yes, it does.
Yep, I got respect for those guys. Dan Trainer, we're going ice fishing soon. Thinking of a vertical and you know what? Kilo 8 Mike Radio Delta did a video several years ago before he moved down to Texas.
He went out on
and I thought it was brilliant.
Yep.
Frozen lakes on the air.
Yep, lakes on the air. Did you ever see the one he did when he's up there when he did summits on the air? He's on the top of a parking garage.
No, I think I missed that one.
It was great. Yep.
That's beautiful. Dan, take some photos. My email is good on QRZ, and shoot them over, and I'll put them on one of our future live streams if you get the chance. Okay, Don, supposed to be 35 Fahrenheit. Man, that is a big swing, but I'm looking forward to the warmer weather next week.
They're calling it the Great Thaw.
Yeah. Well, not Buffalo, what is it? Buffalo's 50 minutes drive from here, and they got socked, but it could because it's Buffalo, right?
They always get socked.
So I think everywhere else the snow is going to melt. I just don't know if it'll be warm enough to melt everything in Buffalo. Hey, Mike would know more about that because he's
would be unlivable. I mean, Chicago's bad enough, but Buffalo, just for the snow.
Yeah. Okay. It's right at the end of that big lake, and the water.
Side of the lake, man.
Yep. Hey, Mike. So speaking of Mike, down Western New York way, I will be trying D-Star HF with my 705 for POTA sometime later this year. It's on the to-do list, and that's one of the things I wanted to get to. We're 42 minutes into this, gentlemen, and we haven't had. I'm still working my way down through this list. That is not a complaint. This is awesome. I love it. Way to go, guys. Thank you. But Mike's already chiming in, and I'll say it right here and now. If you're watching and you have a goal or a project you're working on this year, please put a note in the comments. Yeah. Let us know what it is, and we'll share it with everybody. Maybe inspire some people to try stuff for themselves.
Well, Mike putting that up, because my 7100, my truck, obviously it's an ICOM rig, it's got D-Star in it. I've never used D-Star in it at all. So I didn't even know you could do D-Star HF. So that'd be something to try.
I remember talking to a gentleman in the U.S. I think it was on 40 meters. We're going back a few years. And he was telling me about D-Star. He does D-Star on HF all the time. He says it's fantastic. He says the signal quality, the just the purity of the signal is beautiful to listen to when you've got it set up properly. So they're onto something. And it shocked me because I didn't know anybody was doing it. Yeah. You don't hear about people doing it. And I've got, by the way, Chris, don't feel bad. I've got a pair of FT70s that I have never used Fusion on.
Oh,
so that's actually one of my projects for this year, is to figure that out. Okay. Hey, it's Neck from the Ontario CB Club. Hey, Neck, hey, thanks for joining us. All right, Arnold, 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point of water, as is 0 degrees Celsius. Yes, thank you. Don's back. Tubes are made in Italy, Russia, China, and Norway. I knew Russia and I presumed China, but Italy and Norway are kind of surprising to me. Did you guys, by the way, are you guys familiar with what's happening in the long wave band in Europe? How all the transmitters, like some of these long wave transmitters have tubes as large as a person, and they're having to shut down these long wave stations simply because they can't get tubes for them anymore.
Wow.
No.
So, and one of these, I've always wanted, in the middle of the night, I can't sleep. I come down, I turn on my rig. I always give it a little spin down the long wave portion of the band, just hoping one day I can hear a long wave broadcast. And if I understand it's fairly common on the East Coast, Chris, out your way.
Yeah,
But
it's not like it used to be. I mean, I used to love to listen to BBC and stuff like that, but the BBC shut down years ago, and it's not what it used to be.
Yeah. All right. Here's Don from way up north. Humidity or fog may affect equipment. I know for one fact, lightning affect HF as lightning splashes. Yeah. Here's Juan from Chile again. This weekend, 37 degrees Celsius. So double it and add 32, guys, to get your Fahrenheit number. Are expected in San Fernando. I was hoping to go do radio in the mountains, but I'd better stay at home with the air conditioning. That's pretty warm, Juan. I don't know if you're used to those kinds of temperatures, but I'd melt in that kind of scenario. We are so darn committed. He's talking about his POTA going out in the freezing cold. We should be, and I'll be, so my buddy Tim, my buddy Tom, VA3WBA, has talked me into going out for winter field day weekend after next. Don't know what it's going to look like. Don't know what our station will be like, but I might be out there freezing with you too, Don. I will be in a warm red Ram 1500 pickup, Don. Oh boy, I'll be on a picnic table with a good heater when needed and heated seats too. I'm sure you got a little cooler right there, just in case you get a little thirsty. I will either use my Chameleon TDL Delta loop or hang on, let me see if he's got more there. Here it is. Okay. Single 1/4 wave telescoping vertical, and use AGR 25-foot cable with ferrite beads on the end. Great reports this way. So he's using it like a counterpoise, I guess. Yeah, cool. Got Don, Northern Ontario, like he's back on the atmospheric noise. Thunderstorms, lightning affects frequencies like 40 meter, 20 meter, and 10 meter. And 17 experiences lightning splashes a few times. I gotta say, guys, I know Don's saying that, but that really hasn't been my experience.
Well, hang on, because you and I did a 40-meter QSO the one time, and there was a thunderstorm in between us. And yes, I know that we would get some reflectivity off that storm because you would come in really
for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't specify enough. 40, 80, 160, absolutely. But you start moving up to 20, 17, 15, 12, 10, and it really isn't so much a thing anymore. Have you noticed it? Like, tell me if I'm off my rocker.
I mean, you get some crashes sometimes, but not 40 and 80 are the big ones.
Okay. All right. So thanks for chiming in, Don. Okay, what do we got? He also uses a Life PO4 battery. Oh, have I got a battery story for you guys? We'll see if we get to it. We're at 48 minutes in. We haven't even started talking. All right. I also use a Life PO4 battery in a 30 amp hour or 50 amp hour, depending upon planned operating time. Good. Don, let me know, how much power do you run, and how much runtime do you get out of a 30 amp hour?
Right.
You wouldn't. Right. Always curious to see what people are getting. NVIS wire configs have been awesome this year through the winter. That makes sense. He's also saying wires at 25 feet high or less. Great bounce off snow and leaves. I don't know about that. Guys?
Well, in theory, your snow-covered ground is going to have more conductivity.
Well, but it's frozen. Does it? It's not water. I'm not disputing it. I just don't know. I'd sort of discounted snow because it's frozen. Now maybe he's bang on.
Does it have the same effect as if you're parked near water or something like that?
Yeah, like I think that's the point he's making here.
Yeah.
You think so, Tom? Tim?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
You're going to get more reflectivity.
Okay.
Greater reflectivity, I should say, if my grammar.
Yeah. Okay, Dawn, I love 15 meters and 80 meters this time of year. Dawn, do you run 80 when you're doing your POTA stuff? Because I'd like to know what you're using for an antenna, but 15 meters, yeah, absolutely. 15 is quiet. And here's the thing, guys, I don't know if you see this. Guys love 20 meters. They always love 20 meters is your go-to DX band for everything. But if you're not running 10, you might zip up to 17. But a lot of guys overlook 15.
Yeah, 15 is.
And then they scoot right on up to 12 and 10. And most of them don't even stop at 12. They go straight to 10.
Yeah.
So it's always been my impression that 15 is an incredibly underutilized band. And you can catch some rare DX up there and be the only one coming back to the guy because everybody is disregarding 15. So Don, I'm on the same page as you.
Well,
15 when 15's open, it's incredible.
Think it through. So a lot of guys are using NFETs, right? So your NFET is going to do 40, 20, right? And it'll do 15 in some cases, and 10. So when you have that kind of antenna, and think, what else are you going to use on 15? Your OC, your will do it. You gotta tune them. Remember, you usually got like an ICOM or AC 3-to-1 tuner, right?
Right.
So what are we talking? 15 is kind of an odd. Everybody will say that your 40 meter antenna will do 15 on the harmonics, but the performance just isn't so great. You would see a lot more activity on 15 meters if that's to do it.
Tim, thank you. I was missing that, and I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Even I'm thinking to some of the antennas, the multi-band antennas that I have, and high-end Fed, a brand that I've used in the past. When they sell you one of their antennas that's 40 through 10, they put 15 in brackets because they say needs a tuner. So it's not resonant the way the other bands are on those antennas.
And the ones I make, they'll do 15, right? But 15 band is kind of narrow when it comes to those antennas. That again, the 40 meter harmonic isn't really in practice as it is as good as it is on paper.
Yeah.
I think so. If how many people are really using like the old fashioned tri-element? I mean, a 3-element tri-bander up on a roof. That's what I have, and that's what I use 15. So I mean, it's designed for 15. It's one of the bands that it's designed for. I mean, it's got some traps and stuff on it.
If you want to work 15, the best thing to do is have just a 15 meter mono band.
That's it.
Rifle.
There you go. That's right. It'll work like a champ.
Or I had a fella who asked for, actually Gavin down in Australia. I was talking to him, and he was looking to do a 15 meter half square, and I just didn't get around to it, but I want to do that. Speaking of projects for this year, I want to do a couple of different half squares, 15 meters being among them.
You made me one a while back. I don't know if you remember.
Did I?
And I actually used it at Field Day a couple of years ago.
Yep,
that was the old school one. I have a different design I want to try this time around.
Okay. Interesting. We'll talk about that.
I don't remember. So,
yeah, no, for sure. And I think it would have worked. I just don't think conditions were very good when I was trying it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's. Sorry, guys, I'm running
15,
behind you.
Right? 15.
Holy cow! This is wonderful. I really thank everybody for putting in their comments. This is really making for an interesting stream for us. Okay, Amphenol always sounded like a med to me. This is Philip for all your ham radio.
Take some Amphenol. Take 2 Amphenols and call me in the morning.
All right. Hey, Victor Echo 3, Echo Bravo Mike, Victor Alpha 3, Quebec Foxtrot. Hello from Oak. I presume you mean Oakville. And thanks for joining us. Arnold, what roof angle? Okay, all right. We're going to get into a Tim question here. Tim, I'll throw it open for Chris too.
Everybody who's used a metal sheet roof and puts an antenna over it gets detuned.
Yes.
So can I let me read it out just in case there's people that aren't watching the screen. What roof angle is best for creating a ground plane reflector when using antenna on metal sheet roof?
Now, well, let's ask what kind of antenna, vertical wire antenna, whatever.
Yep.
Because what came to mind when he said that is I was thinking of like the old CB radio ground planes where you would have the vertical component, and they recommended having the ground plane radials down at a 45, right?
Yes.
That's just me thinking out loud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The only situation that this works for me in my mind is that if you're trying to replicate, it's like a mag mount on a car, right?
Right.
So you've got I don't know about the 45. That won't be new to me, but I don't really deal in ground plane antennas. But I would suspect it would be either 45 as you say or around 180. Right. But I know if you take wire and try and do it over a metal roof like that, you're gonna run into problems.
Right. That's right. That's different.
So there are correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Aren't there HF antennas that are set up like these would be specialty antennas, maybe used by military, commercial, etc., where they would take one wire and they would put it parallel underneath the actual driven element, and they use that to
yeah, it just acts as a reflector, like what's just like a reflector on a Yagi,
right?
Right. So it's got to be matched.
If you had this scenario and you were able to determine where the wire could go and how high above the surface it would go, is there any reason to think it would act any differently?
In theory, no.
Right. That's right, in theory, but you don't know what metal is in the roof, and
it'd be fun to play with.
There's all kind. Well, yeah, but the distances you're talking, right? You could need to be 20, 30 feet over the
well, roof. That's going to be practical,
and it's got to be matched, right? The reflector is a specific distance behind that driven element, right? In order for that to work,
right?
And then you're reflecting straight up, at least on a flat roof. So. Yeah, I don't.
That'd be quite a project.
Philip will probably pop in the chat and say something. He's
thanks for the question, Arnold. Hey, Mike's coming back. He's talking about weather in Buffalo because I mentioned Buffalo. It's about an hour west of him. So I think Mike, you're in the Finger Lakes region. I think. So sorry, I think I put you in the wrong.
Yeah, on the other side of the Poconos or something like that.
No, it's north of that. Yeah.
And it's night and day. Okay, they're getting feet of snow, but we're just getting a few inches. Yeah, don't move to Buffalo, Mike. I think you're doing pretty well right where you are. Mike is also saying there's apparently a D-Star HF net on Saturday afternoons and Sunday mornings. So there's your chance, Chris.
There we go. I'll check it out.
All right. Don Burgess.
It's not really HF, though.
well, I mean, it's not like picking up your Baofeng and talking to a guy in Australia now, is it?
I'm just teasing.
There are a lot of hams in ice houses who use verticals or wire antennas. Very good times running down wire fish holes. Running wire down fish holes.
Sure.
Well, that would be a heck of a counterpoint.
Sinker on the end of it, and plop. There you go.
Jeez. And I heard muskies like those sinkers, so you could end up with a 2
There's
for
no
1.
that says you can't bait it.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Laying long wire on top of the ice in the depth of the lakes helps show propagation of height value.
He's right.
Oh, that's interesting.
He's right, because in theory you're sitting on the top. You're sitting at the top of a giant canyon, right?
Yeah.
So why not?
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Why not run a 80-meter, wire now that you're 40 feet over the ground or 80 feet over the ground, in theory, right?
That's really interesting. Okay, Don comes back. A new way to ground loop. Arnold, guys, I'm more into the science of design when it comes to the best environment that suits the antenna. Hey, good for you.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah.
That's good, though.
Exactly.
Good.
That's pretty cool. It's nice to see somebody fooling around with this stuff on a more technical level. Okay, Don, every Sunday a D-Star HF net starts on, I don't know what it is, REF030C around 1 p.m. Central, as I recall for a time. Do you know what? Is that a room?
No, that's got to be
a
a node or something that they've got.
Oh, okay.
See, it's not real radio.
There goes my lack of digital knowledge exposing itself. All right. Then they moved to 17 meters, 18152. All right. Okay, here we go. So this is Don from Northern Ontario. Once I made a wooden Yagi with a coat hanger as element. A wooden Yagi made of a heavy 2x4. Thing was whacked, so big, bulkier. My first home VHF antenna.
I did something similar. Don't laugh. I did, yeah.
No, I'm not laughing at all. I think this kind of experimentation is fun.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. That's right.
Absolutely. I have. So
mine wasn't wood. Mine was, you know, those stupid fiberglass poles that people stick in their driveways by their mailboxes.
Okay. Yep.
So the snowplow doesn't take them out.
Yeah.
I think I did something like that with some wire at one time. It was like one of my first for like a 2-meter beam. It was wacky. Yeah, it was glue and tape and just shit all over the place. It was awful.
But it worked.
Did it? I don't remember. I tried to get it up in the air and the thing just fell apart.
Fell apart.
So
just all kinds of stuff.
You know, a few years ago, some YouTubers were doing silly things for antennas. I think even this past winter, somebody did Christmas lights as antennas.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this idea, you know, given the nature of my channel, I've got to get out there. I've got to figure out which balun to use, but I want to set up one of my tent frames. You know, the telescopic frames that you put the fly and then the tent body, it holds it up, and see if I can radiate maybe a pair of those. So that's on my bucket list. I don't know if I'll get.
You could phase them. That'd be fun.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Oh.
All right. Try getting a single tube for Heathkit SB230. A tube 8783 can cost you next of kin prices.
Mm.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
someday you won't be able to get them anymore. I remember when I had my TS830, it's the hybrid tube, right? So there was a pair of tubes on the one side, and then like the main tube on the right side, and they have to be matched. You can't just go buy tubes and plug them in, right? And it was a challenge even then. And this was new old stock from RCA. So the boxes come, and they come in these little boxes, and they're all yellow, you know, and they've got the crazy like 1970s colors on them and stuff like that. It was a trip. It was a trip. That was.
Speaking of Don's comment about, I'm just going to pass along an anecdote here. So he's talking about next of kin prices. So my friend Tom VE3TWM that I was out and we did the wire mesh experiment with that my last video focused on. He was telling me a couple years ago, you know, he wanted to take his team out for lunch. So they went to one of these specialty burger places, you know, that have been popping up all over the place. There's one called Five Guys. There's Burger Priest. I don't know if you guys have stuff like this. He says, so he took his 4 guys. He went to get them a burger, and he says, it cost me more than $100 for 5 hamburgers. He says inside, and he's a big Polish guy, a big imposing Polish guy, right? He says, in some countries, you can buy wife for less.
You know, avocado on a brioche bun. It gets expensive.
Absolutely. What else we got? Don Burgess, CQ single sideband worldwide is this Saturday too. You know what? I've never done it in the winter outdoors. One day, not going to be this year, but one day. Don, once again, a nice S1 noise floor in state parks in rural Minnesota. Yeah. Love being in the boonies, as we call it. Oh, there is nothing like it. You know, Don, you mentioned that, and when I did my my Nightmare Before Halloween video this past fall, where I was out at a park with my 817, I had somebody leave a comment saying, did you install one of those noise filters on your 817? The sound was just so clear. There was no stack. There was nothing. And my response to him was simply, it's like, Well, that's what happens when you get away from town.
Right.
And if you're out in the middle of the boonies, you get an S1 noise level and no noise.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I did my trip up to Minnesota, and it was just wonderful. It's night and day.
Yeah. 40 to 80 meters are the temperamental bands for sure. I guess we're talking about atmospheric noise. That's how far behind I am in these comments, guys.
Well,
I'm getting hoarse.
40 meters is so bad when you get out. I mean, 40 meters is bad here because it's an urban environment. You've got all kinds of stuff. 80 meters is only temperamental because of the people.
Yeah.
This is true.
You know, if you just come home and you got this pain in your lower back, you got to talk to somebody about
That's right. I got the sciatica. It's driving me nuts. Listen, I can hear that on some repeaters around here too. So, got to go to the doctor. I gotta.
One day we too shall go there.
My goal for this year is to get on Grumpy Old Hams. I'm going to try.
What is that?
You don't know from Grumpy Old Hams?
No.
Oh, Grumpy Old Hams is a YouTube channel.
Really? Oh, wait a minute. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I've seen one of those. Where
the guy records, he goes and he picks fights with these guys on like 80 meters, right, in the middle of the night, and they're trying to do their thing, and he comes in and it's like, Obama was the greatest president ever lived, and he starts the whole thing, and then he records it and makes a YouTube video out of it. It's just
oh, that's fun.
It's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I shouldn't endorse that, but it does sound funny right now.
Of course not. But check it out if you get a chance. I mean, some of it's pretty funny.
All right. So Don was talking. We were asking about the TS480 because there's a 200-watt version of this radio, which is just amazing. But Don says he runs 100 watts in phone, so he does. The mode is single sideband. He still only end up with an 80 contact day. Now, this was on the 30 amp hour. He still has 75% of life left on that. That's impressive.
That's really good.
Don, one thing you didn't mention is how much time did it take to rack up those 80 contacts? If you could, I'm asking for a lot of information, but that would answer something for me. But still, I'm pretty impressed with that. Okay, so what else we got here? We got Don from way up northern Ontario. I rarely use 15. Most bands I use is CB 10 meters, 50 or 80 or 30. Maybe he means 15. Might have been talking into his phone. Okay, there he goes. 10, 40, 20, 80, 17, or CB.
That's right.
A double bazooka. Okay, I have heard so many good things about double bazookas. In an inverted V with 3 feet off the ground ends. Boy, that's low. And apex is roughly 25 feet up to a big branch. Huh. That's low for an 80-meter antenna. But the double bazookas are tremendous antennas. The one thing that that is about them, of course, they're made of coax, so they're heavy. So you have to have a solid mount for the feed point. That's interesting. Scout 75. Hey Shane, I modified my end-fed half waves to be linked with 15 as the start. Guys, because we got Scout on here, and he's saying this, I want to just show you something. So give me just 1 sec here.
Well, you don't have to modify your end-fed half waves to be linked. You could buy one. You can buy them like that. I know a guy on eBay who does that.
Yeah. Scout 75, Shane has a YouTube channel. I love his enthusiasm, getting outdoors with his stuff. He's released a video on goals for 2024. He's got goal number 1, CW summits on the air and POTA activation. Awesome. 2, more SOTA activations, I guess, than he did last year. 3, weekly WinLink sessions. That is definitely pushing the boundaries of his capabilities. And 4th, going to the Huntsville Ham Fest.
Yeah, that's a big one. I've never been
very
there.
cool stuff. Yeah. Very cool stuff, Scout. That'll be I hope you can get those all ticked off by the end of the year. All right. Amphenol sounds like a drug. Okay, there we go. All right. Here we got Mike, M2 MAK back. One of the 17-foot telescopic whips is a good option for 15 meters. I can verify last winter field day, my buddy Tom, that I referred to several times this evening, he showed me this MFJ 17, and I nearly lost it because I don't like MFJ. I just don't. And I respect everybody who uses their stuff and uses it. It's good out of it. But darn, did that thing work well. He had it on a magnet mount on the top of a Toyota minivan, and we made contacts coast to coast to coast all across the U.S. On 15 meters. Yeah, it just rocked.
I have that MFJ whip, and I put it on top of the Wolf River coil, and it works like a champ.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have the super antenna. It's the same thing. You put the whip on top of the coil, and but you got to run radials all over the place. And
but I do want to try the Faraday screen trick on it one of these days.
All right, what else we got? So Don's coming in. Chameleon MCOM 2 wire end fed at 64 feet long does really well for my wire applications. Does 6 meters to 80 meters and sometimes 160 with a long counterpoise too. How long is that counterpoise, Don, if you don't mind letting me know? Arnold, we were talking about the metal roof. His roof angle is 5 to 12.6. I don't think I'm reading that right. I don't know how to read this specification. Either of you guys know how to read that?
I have to look at it.
It's the pitch. It's 5.
He's got a 45 pitch.
Well, 6 to 12 is 45, so his is probably a little
less than 45.
Less than 45. Yeah.
I don't know what code is out there. I know you can do roof pitches over a certain angle. I don't know.
All right.
I think it's worth a try. Just put something up, see what it does.
You know what? That's half of the fun of ham radio.
Just put it up,
is playing around with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Juan from Chile. 3 or 4 drops of Amphenol in your antenna and the SWR will go down drastically. That's beautiful.
It's open mic night here on Outdoors on the Air.
Yeah, that's right. Mike, N2MAK, that military antenna sounds like a 2-element NVIS Yagi. We were talking about the the driven element over top of the passive element.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Here we go. I'm just gonna. So Don comes back. The thicker the metal roof, and if at say a 15-degree angle, can make a good reflector too. Yeah. Makes for a good DX option. Hey, we got Gearoid Mac.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, Gearoid Macode. I am buying my first POTA rig. Just can't decide which one, 891 or 6100. Okay, if you're watching this and you haven't put your comment in for Gearoid, put your comment in and you let him know which way you would go on this. Of course, the 6100 is the Zygu, the 891 is the Yaesu. Chris, what's your pick?
So for POTA, you're outside. I've never owned one, never operated one, but the 891 can be kind of menu intensive, right? So is that really? I think once you set, it's good to go. And of course, it's Yaesu, so it's Yaesu portable radios, or you could drive a truck over them and they work fine. The Zygu, I've never owned one, so I hear great things about them. So. But I think has that got a display on it, like with the little pan adapter sort of?
Yeah.
That might be overkill for POTA. No, it's good, but then again, I use an 817, and which is bare bones, but it works.
You Luddite, Chris.
Hey, it's your fault I have that radio. So
that's true. Tim, what's your take on it?
The 6100 is cooler, but it only does 10 watts. And if you're going to go out
Isn't that
there,
a 20-watt radio? I'm sorry, you would know better than I.
10 watts, I think.
Okay.
Oh, that's true. And the 81 and the 891 goes up to 100 watts. Right?
And if you're going out there for the first time, 10 watts may not ingratiate you to the practice. You might have a better time just getting started with a 100-watt radio.
Yeah, that's a good
now,
point.
The other thing you could do is instead of either or the 891 and the 600, you could think about maybe a G90. That'll give you 20 watts, which would probably be a better experience because 20 watts seems to be that sweet spot power-wise. Just my 2 cents.
I respect both of those opinions. The only thing I would say, and I've owned an 891, which I have since sold. I never warmed up to it. One of the issues with it was the fact that it draws a lot of current.
That's true.
You need a beefier battery. And you know what? So here's the thing, and I'm coming from an older school mindset where I used to use SLA batteries. That's actually a picture of an SLA behind me here. And then now the Life PO4 batteries, they're really coming down in price.
Yeah.
Where you can now buy a 30 amp hour, like Don was telling us about earlier. He can run for, he can get a, 80 contact single sideband at 100 watts. And he's only drained the battery down to the 75% level. And what can you buy a 30 amp hour battery? I think it's about $100 US right now, guys. To get
when you say POTA, what are you doing? Are you pulling up to the park and setting something up right outside the car? Or are you packing a bag and you're hiking up the mountain kind of thing?
Or is it a mobile like installed?
Good point. That's a very good point.
But back to yours, a 30 amp hour. I got twin 40s in mine, 40 amp hours, and it's lightened the load significantly to where my little pack that I can pull around is actually a lot easier. And
nice.
And maybe you pack a solar panel, and you can you take 2 20s and charge one and run off the other. Charge one, run off the other.
The only thing I would say, here's what I would say, and I know there's an awful lot of people using Chinese radios. I am leery of Chinese radios. I know that I can get a Yaesu radio fixed fairly promptly if something goes south with it under warranty. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the Yaesu radios have a 3-year warranty. I don't have to ship it back to China and wonder what the heck is going on with it and how many weeks or months later I'm going to get it back. And I don't think there's a North American warranty facility. Is there?
I think if you buy it from like Radioddity or something like that, they'll take care of it for you. I think. Okay. I think.
Do they service them in North America, or do they end up going back to China?
Who cares? If they send me a replacement or something.
It's about time, right? How soon before you get it back is my impression.
Don't know.
My guess,
it's an unknown.
Does Radioddity just replace the radio?
I don't know. I've never had a problem with mine, but it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fair question.
I also get the feeling, you pick up an 891. It's a bit of a brick. I mean, it's really solidly built.
What does it run you these days, too?
Well, I'm thinking it's about $600 US, maybe.
Really?
Still, that was pretty much its going price. Well, first they're still making them, right?
Sorry, isn't that what you asked? What's it selling for?
Yeah.
They're not discontinued, are they?
No, still current product.
Yeah.
679.
679 at DX Engineering, 679 at Gigaparts.
Yep.
Amazon 700, of course. Okay. For some reason, I thought they were more expensive. But what does the 6100 go for these days? And there's a new one coming out.
It's got to be in the same range, isn't it?
There's got to be. I think there's a new version coming out too, right?
Probably.
The 6100 is a 6100B or something. I heard somebody talking about the new model. Okay, so that's $100 less.
So, the point I was trying to make is that the fit and finish on the Chinese stuff is not the same. It's not built to as high a standard. It's just not as solid, rugged, whatever term you want to apply to it. And I know they're getting better. They're gradually getting better. But I just don't think they're up to a par with the Japanese built stuff yet.
So here's the deal. I'm looking at the Radiodity site. You could get the 6100 with the bundle, right? For $579.
Okay, $100 less.
Because I think they're coming out the new one. It's going to be a promo for it's like the 6101 or so. Somebody in the chat will tell us.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move along. And that was a great question, Geroid. Mike's going to tell us a little bit about the D-Star HF net. They coordinate frequency on a reflector and go on HF from 80 meters on up. The D-Star HF is simplex, though. Makes sense. Yeah. Hey, Don from Northern Ontario, loving the stream, eating wieners and beans. Hey, didn't Red Fisher used to call that shore lunch? Now, you American guys don't know who I'm talking about when I say Red Fisher. He used to, this is a guy from back in the 60s and 70s who had a really cheesy fishing show on Canadian television. And he'd go out there and he would go out in the boat and he'd catch some fish and he'd go back for shore lunch and he'd cook these fish up and he'd always have a can of baked beans. They'd start a little fire and he'd be frying up these baked beans as he's frying up the fish, and he called it shore lunch. So yeah, I'm sure Don knows what I'm talking about.
You had me at wieners and beans.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you guys like wieners and beans?
Hey, come on, who doesn't?
Well, I agree, but I'm just, sometimes that, Tim has discerning tastes.
I'm not really a wieners and beans guy.
Chili and spaghetti, for example. It's a non-starter for.
Listen, when you're from Chicago, okay, there are certain things that just aren't done. You don't put spaghetti in your chili. You don't put ketchup on a hot dog. Okay, you just don't. Peanut
butter with chocolate, stuff happens.
Well, that's Reese's peanut butter cups. Come on.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, so Arnold's talking about his metal roof again. He says, now I have to reevaluate my situation. I don't want to buy a lot of expensive stuff and have a failure of design causing disappointment. Arnold, you're treading where few have bothered to tread before. You might learn something that's of value to the rest of the ham radio community. So don't give up the spirit of experimentation. I'm not asking you to blow a whole bunch of money. I'm not doing that. I'm saying, but consider doing, if you can play around with it a little bit and see if you can come.
I'm more worried about him going up on a 45-degree roof and breaking his neck.
Well, that's a good
There's that
in winter. Well, I don't know if it's winter where he is. So.
All right, what do we got here? I'm actually going to skip over some of these because it's just they're good comments, but they're sort of like back and forth and maybe little bits here and there. Okay, take a look here. So we do have Don out in the country. We now bury AC lines for farmers. Well, that's pretty awesome because I'm living in a suburban neighborhood where the lines were buried when the homes went in. So that's. I've got it
actually, because this house was built in 35, and the majority of people have the lines running to their house. We had to pay to actually get the line from the pole buried through the backyard coming up into the house, and it's a world of difference.
Was that a lot of money, Tim?
My mom did it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Years ago.
Yeah, in the 80s, I think.
Okay, Don says, hey, you're talking about 80 meters. I so agree on temperaments on 80 meters.
You gotta be in the mood for it, but
I'm going to say this. Hey, listen, I want to say this about 80 meters. There is I have referred to them before. I think there's a local Ontario net called OnTAR, 3755 kilohertz. And I listen to these guys every morning as I'm getting into my work because they start at 7 in the morning and they run through. They typically have net controllers up to about 10 or 11 in the morning. And then they start up again, 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And it is such an incredible network of operators. They're older guys, yes, but they come on, they say hi to each other. I am sure that some of these people, this is their reason to get up in the morning, to say hi to friends that they've had for years over the radio. They don't get out much. It's such a nice thing. One of these days, I'd like to think that, okay, I retire and maybe I can become a net control for this. So I see some interesting things on 80, which are actually really nice. Hey, I want to go to Philip now. Look at this. Philip, going to build a 1 wavelength delta loop for 40 meters. What do you think of that one, Tim?
I've wanted to do a delta loop forever and just have never gotten around to it. They're big. I don't know what I was thinking, but Philip and I were talking, and he's like, "Well, I had this idea for a Delta loop. It's 144 feet of wire." I'm like, "What? I don't remember a Delta loop being that big." But of course, I got, and then of course, I got blueprints and schematics and all this stuff in my email inbox. I was like, "Yeah, okay, I remember now." And I must have been thinking 20 meters or something like that. But yeah,
so it's Delta loop. So this is going to be the triangle at the top of the triangle is your radiated. Then you peg out the two bottom corners.
Yes.
So how tall would that be? How tall would it be?
144, divided by, so it's going to be, I don't know, 14 meters or something like that, I think it would be the height.
That's getting up there.
You don't have to do it like that though. You can always horizontalize it. It's got to be up.
But you need to get some height underneath that, right? At least half a width.
Standard low dipole height. It'll work.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've wanted to do that for a long time too, but it gets to be a big antenna.
Hey, so Philip,
I don't know what the hypotenuse of a triangle with 144 or 14 meter sides or whatever it is, but that high.
Okay.
So it's pole height. Here you go. See?
So Philip's just given us the information. 47 feet per side, resonant at 7.150, dead smack in the middle of the band, hang from a 12-meter spider beam pole.
Yep.
Cool. I got one of those. That would be fun. All right.
A lot of work to get that thing up in the air, though, I would think.
Holy cow, guys. I am way behind.
Well,
okay. Don from Northern Ontario has followed Scout. All right, good stuff. Hey, Don, Minnesota, I would take maybe 2 to 3 hours for operating time for 80 contacts. Thank you for this information, Don. It's actually a revelation to me.
Is that is that with the bazooka?
30 amp hour Life PO4, running at 100 watts with his TS 480. That's impressive.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Don comes back. 20 meters is so full lately for my POTA. 15, 17, or 40 are the best for me here. Yeah, that's the thing about 20, and we're going to see this as the sunspot cycle peaks. You're going to have a heck of a time finding elbow room on 20.
Yeah.
So this is going to make the higher bands, especially 15. If you can get an antenna, that's that's a big band. It's almost half a megahertz, including the CW portion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of real estate up there. You're always going to find a spot to operate.
My money is always going to be on 17 meters. Small band. It's kind of odd. 20 meter, usually a 20 meter antenna will tune 17 in some cases. But it's almost always open. And you'll never hear me criticize 17 meter band. I love it.
Yeah. No, I have not done enough 17. I'll honestly, I've probably made a dozen contacts on 17 over my entire ham career. So I really ought to. And I've got a 17 meter ham stick. So, and I now have a magnet mount that I can use with it. So I got no excuses.
That's a 20 meter half square that we used to do with tune 17.
That's true too. Yeah. Absolutely.
That was
okay. NVIS on bazooka in this mode, 300 to 500 miles range. That's pretty good. That bazooka is a nice broadbanded antenna too. I'm going. Oh, hey, here's bike tour. I'm going for extra. Very new general. Welcome to the hobby with no HF rig. Thinking FT710. What's your suggestion for my first antenna? Tim, I want to throw this one over to you first.
Okay. Where are you going to operate from? That would be my first question. If he's operating from home, are you going to hang it? How are you going to do that? So I would either look at, for the 710, I would either look at an OCF if you can do it, or some version of an NFET if you have trouble getting things up in the air. Other than that, go buy a tower, get a 40-meter beam with a big rotor and an amp.
There you go.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, usually OCF or one of the NFEDs will cover it. It'll do just about everything you want it to do. If you're new and you're getting into HF, that gives you a couple different bands to pick from. Your range is going to be pretty good, depending on conditions, of course. If you can get it 20, 25 feet up in the air, that'll do the job generally. The linked NFED, the one that I do, if you don't want to do the full 40, the full 60 feet, 66 feet of it, you just throw the 20 end up in the air. You get 20 and 10. That takes care of the majority of at least the POTA stuff that people are going to do. You'll be able to do DX with it, and see how you like that. And if your interest in your taste is peaked enough, you can go from there. There's pretty much the world is open to you. The only gripe is that the ASU internal tuners will only do 3-to-1. Right. So my 2 cents would be drop $100 on like a used MFJ manual tuner on eBay or something like that. I know.
LDG.
Just saying, okay. If you don't want to get crazy with it, because LDG is gonna run you
used.
$150. $150.
I've never bought a new LDG. I guess that's not true, but I currently own 2 LDG tuners acquired off the used market.
Yeah, you can buy them used, but they're still going to run you, even used, unless you pick them up cheap at a Hamfest or something like that, for $150 usually, right? That whereas a cheapo manual one, and you get a lot more fun, tweaking the manual tuner than you will the automatic anyway.
You have a point there, Tim. Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, Chris, do you want to weigh in with your suggestion?
So here's what I'm thinking: the 710. I don't think he's going to be taking that out. I think it's going to sit on a desk. It's my guts kind of telling me that. So if that's the case, what I find interesting is OCF's work. And actually, it's funny, a G5RV will not work with the Yaesu tuner. In fact, they tell you that in the manual. Do not use a G5RV with it because it won't tune it. But it's interesting. Would anyone be so averse to putting in like if he's got the room, to putting in a multi-band vertical, ground mounted with radio?
Yeah, I don't sell those.
Well, there's that.
There's always a gap tighten. You can put that in.
Well, the only reason I say that is because look, broadcast antennas, which are low band, right, like AM radio antennas, right? They're all verticals, they're towers, right? So I've often, and I say that I'm kind of, because I thought of that, I was like, I've had this idea to try to get it, just to put in a ground mounted vertical and see how it would do. But the thing is, like, like to go along with I forget his handle already. Arnold is talking about using like metal roofs, and he doesn't want to invest money into something to find out it fails, right? So I'd hate to go out, like, drop a couple $100 on a vertical antenna, put it up, put out all the radios, and then get on the radio and find out, wow, this thing's it's like a dummy load. So I would, it's something you have to look into and plan out and design, but
that's going to happen to you in your ham radio career too, by the way.
Oh, it's happened more than I.
Yeah, you're gonna go out, you're gonna spend a bunch of money, and you're gonna
and then you're gonna come home and put it on a shelf. I'm with you. Been there, done that.
You're gonna blow out the microwave.
So anyway, I just wonder how that would work. Again, you need space for someone. You got to spread those radials out. So you need.
Well, I think the key phrase there is he's a new general going for extra with no HF rig. So. Right. If you're going to get out there on HF, before I dig a hole and pour a bunch of cement for a vertical, I would just
put up a wire antenna. Yeah,
see what happens. Yeah.
Oh, hey, then what's wrong with picking a handful of bands, making some dipoles, and get a good old-fashioned antenna switch and just switch between them?
You can do that too.
Yeah, and that's cheap.
Might take a little bit of time to get them all up.
Yeah.
Guys, I would like to thank you very much for your input, and I think it's tremendous. Bike Tour, I would offer only one thing in addition to that. So again, going along with Chris and presuming that this is a base station we're talking about, not for portable use or mobile use, I would say go along with those suggestions. They're fantastic, but I would implore you, if you're able to, even get a tower. even if it's just a 30-foot TV tower, that becomes the heart of your station. Now you can put an antenna up top if you want. You can put wires off, and it becomes a place where all your coax cable goes up and connects to your connection to the outside world. Use any of these antennas we've talked about. It gives you some flexibility. It gets you into the game. A TV, and you'd be surprised, like a 30-foot TV antenna, you could probably pick one up fairly inexpensively on a used market in good condition. They're usually pretty well made, that they last for years. Get one of those, install it, and run your wires off there. It gives you a chance to try different things, to have a permanent mounting place for the high end of your antenna if you're running something like an end fed or the midpoint of a dipole. It just opens up all kinds of doors and gives you the opportunity to use an antenna the way it was designed to be used, not down low, but up high. So that would be my...
It doesn't even have to be that complicated. I think I bought, it was either at Gigaparts or DX Engineering or one of those places. There's a bracket that gives you like 2 aluminum stakes. You put that in the ground, and it's got like a crossbar with a clamp in it, and it's got two bolts, right? One swings, so you pull the bottom bolt out, and the top bolt lets it do this, and some military masses, 4-foot military mass sections, aluminum or fiberglass.
You do that too. Yep.
And put a, just attach a pulley on the top. They've even got, actually, one of my goals for this year is to put this top of it. I've had this thing sitting around for like 2 years now. And what that is.
Ooh, I know what that is.
So so this goes into the military mast, right? Just clamps around the top. Then it has a cap that goes on there, and then on the other side you've got the pulley and just a regular rope.
Oh, that's cool.
Flagstaff rope will do that. And that thing is, well, I've got 8 4-foot sections, so 32 feet, right? And then at the top, I've got a little 6-foot TV pole with a rotor that I use for the rotatable dipole. And this kind of thing wasn't expensive at all. In fact, it's got a...
Oh, yeah. I think I've been on that website.
So that, there, a goal for 2024.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good one. Okay, let's move along, guys, because I'm seriously running behind again. His bazooka is a high gain center connections. High gain. That's an MFJ brand, isn't it?
It is now.
Yeah, center connection. So I guess he built it based upon, he bought the part, and is that what you're saying, Don? Okay, all your channels, very insightful. We are trying to offer training classes here in Minnesota for new hams and old ones alike. Well done. Great work on promoting the hobby, Don. That is fantastic. Okay.
We got to talk about all that chameleon stuff, though.
Well, yeah. Philip's back talking about which rig between the 891 or the 6100. Philip's coming down where you came down, Tim, which was the G90, right?
Yeah, that's another option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 6100 is cool because it's got the little pan adapter and it's got all the, it's slick, right? So it's got the little thing. All I'm saying is that new guy out there, 10 watts. It's just like the old QRP days, right? When nobody starts out as a ham starting doing this thing. I'm going to run QRP. No, it's something it's like an acquired taste. If you go out there, I'm the QRP. You're going to get frustrated.
I'm threatening to do this, and it's been in the back of my mind for a couple of years now. I am going to do a video why a QRP rig should be your first radio. Okay. Not ready yet. I'm going to now put some thought into it, and I'll build it out.
Before the advent of a lot of the digital modes, though.
Yeah,
right. Because you're always out there doing SSB QRP, which is exercise in I mean, bless you for it, but I would rather. I remember when like JT65 and the old PSKs were out there. Now those QRP, that's a different thing. CW QRP even too.
Yeah.
But you have to learn CW, and then you have to have a computer or some other equipment that you're dragging with you.
Right.
Go out there with a man pack and a mic with 5 watts or 10 watts. That's
Yes.
but you acquire a taste for that.
Yeah.
Your skills as a ham that you've developed over time get applied to that particular area.
Yes.
If you go
very true.
Start driving a Formula One race car, it's not going to be the same when you get in your truck.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, let's move along, guys. Don, my 17-foot stick chameleon, I have worked North Africa and Cyprus on 15 meters.
Sure.
Great job.
Yep.
As for his vertical, 2 16-gauge speaker wires at 17 feet long, perfect for all bands. He goes on, counterpoises for 40 meters are 17 feet long. That's not very long. And for 160 meters, uses 50 feet of speaker wire. All right. Hey, listen, we got Douglas V amateur radio and more. I think he called on both. I think he's referring to both radios, both 891 and 6100 here. But he goes on to say he's looking at the 705. Interesting. I wonder how that
705 does a lot of cool stuff, especially with transferring a lot of the data. I know that you can send. Do you remember the old slow scan TV days?
Yeah, sure do.
Well, now you can send like photographs back and forth over like the 705. They have an option for that. It's really cool.
Right. That is cool.
After the apocalypse, we're going to be like swapping memes over HF.
That's right. Okay, Don from Minnesota again. For metal roofs, use 3/4-inch PVC pipe. Wrap speaker wire around 4 tubes and 100 feet of wire, and will tune nicely for upper single side.
Okay.
That's interesting. I guess I'd have to see a diagram to really figure that one out. Do you know where he's going with that, Tim?
No.
All right.
Well, see it though.
All right. What else we got here? VA3DLO. So this is Don from Elliott Lake in Northern Ontario. I use sealed lead acid all the time. I buy all sealed lead acid battery for the solar kits he makes. And I guess
too. Maybe like,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a workout too, for sure.
Which way is the gun show?
G90 here eats about 4.48 amps receive. That's not bad. That puts it in the class of the FT817 with a lot more technology built into it.
I know a guy on YouTube who did a lot of work surrounding usage of power on receive. There's some really out there. Yeah.
Anybody whose name comes to mind?
Some foreign dude.
Foreign. Oh, you got to watch for those guys. All right. 105 Canadian plus tax and shipping for a 28 amp hour battery. Yeah. Now with SLA, boy, we could have a conversation about SLA because I've had a lot of conversations. I've had a lot. I guess I'm getting tired, guys. I've had a lot of experimentation, utilization of SLAs. They do require some careful handling, or you will destroy them. You have to keep them charged up on a regular basis, or they will just go away. All right, what do we got here? What are the names of the guys? This is Douglas V Amateur Radio that do Canadian Prepper podcast. Sorry,
I've heard Canadian Prepper.
I've heard that guy too. Yeah, there's a guy out west who does that.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not really into that.
Well,
not against it. Just
what's
not
stopping you?
What's stopping me? Life, too many other things.
I'm teasing. That's a whole lifestyle thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I, if you knew my wife, you would understand why I don't go more gung ho into stuff.
I understand completely. I understand completely. Some of us just sail solo, so we do what we can.
Yeah. Hey, Don came back. Remember we were talking about Gearoid and, getting a 710 and which antenna. So Don says match your rig to your antenna first. If resonant antenna, then a 891 is great because it doesn't have a tuner, doesn't need a tuner. If you need a wire antenna, then a 7300 or older HF radio would be a good call, or even a Yaesu 991A. Now, I want to share a little story with you guys. I may have mentioned this one before, but I used to sell hi-fi systems back in the day in the 80s, and everybody would come in and they'd want the receiver with the whiz-bang flashing lights and all the other goodies, the big S meter and everything else that's on this thing, and they'd go and they spend most of their budget on that, and they wouldn't spend hardly anything on the speakers, which of course was completely opposite of what you wanted to do. We're fortunate here in the ham radio hobby that antennas cost a lot less comparatively in the equation than a good set of speakers does when you're buying an audio system. But still, guys are so focused on the rig. The rig is the thing, right? You have that nice box sitting on your desk.
Come into the house, they don't look over and say, "Wow, nice speakers." No, you want.
That's right.
I want the Nakamichi Dragon that was in the Paula Abdul video. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of emotional investment that goes into buying a radio. So if Gearoid has identified the 710, it's because he's taking a look around at the rigs and sort of like, ooh, that one looks really nice. So that might be a hard deal to break, even though there's nothing wrong with Don's advice here. He's making some good suggestions, but there's always that emotional attachment to whatever radio that you tend to be running.
And the main thing is, as we all know, and we've said on this channel a bunch of times, is that it's all about the antenna.
Yeah.
It is all about your antenna.
What we don't know about Gearoid, though, is the context.
Right. Like
very true.
Right.
Very true.
Right.
There's more to the story.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He may have taken care of that. Like you said, he may have taken care of that and decided on the 710, which is a cool radio. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Don from Northern Ontario is coming back. If you're buying China radios, buy 2 of every China radio. Have 1 in a box, new. Hey, I think I know a guy who does stuff like that. If first China one fails, back up on hands. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Have you ever taken that nice radio out of its box?
No.
Okay.
Told you I'm flying solo.
Just asking.
There's only 24 hours in a day, and I usually sleep for 7 or 8.
Yeah, I know. It can take all of 5 minutes to take something out of a box and make sure that they actually didn't just ship you something that's like a
that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
When you take it out of the box, it means turn it on and do all that. No.
All good. I'd love to do that. Okay, my Kenwood, Don again, Minnesota. My Kenwood 480 and a Chameleon 17-foot vertical antenna, 25 feet of cable. All can be connected and set up in less than 10 minutes. That's a huge thing, especially when it's minus 20 or whatever out. You don't want to be messing around with that stuff. So
it's all about getting trained on your gear. You have the best gear. You can have the best gear in the world, but if you're not trained, if you don't train with it,
Yep. Okay, look at this. 0 wait time for a returned radio from China. I don't know what that means, Don. Maybe you've got something further on down about that.
Well,
okay. Sorry?
I was going to say, I think he means that he doesn't wait for a return time from China.
Oh, so he just pretends that there's no, forget it. You're not waiting.
No, I think when you buy from like Radio Oddity or something like that, local or here in the States, that if you go on AliExpress and buy one, you might have a different story.
Right. Okay, what else we got here? I think we're talking about 891 pricing here. So Douglas V says 679, so that jived. Okay. Don in Minnesota says he would always recommend a 20 amp hour Life PO4 battery for any remote ops. And I would suggest at this point in the pricing scale, why not just stretch for a 30 amp hour? Unless you're really looking to get the most compact package possible, a 30 amp hour isn't that much more expensive than a 20 amp hour these days, I don't think. Mike, N2MAK, my first radio was a G90, and when I had an issue, okay, this is it. Radio Oddity replaced it. I liked it, but sold it when I got the 705. He was more interested in all band, all mode. Thank you, Mike. Good information.
And the reason why I say that, I think that's the Chinese business model. Like when something breaks, they'll just send you a new one.
Okay.
It's like that with, well, one of my 3D printers is Chinese. And whenever I had a problem, I just called them. They sent me a new part.
Yeah, just send you a new one. Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, I am never going to catch up. I'm just scrolling and scrolling. This has been amazing. Oh, fantastic.
Well, there's a lot of chatter going back and forth, so that's good.
Yeah, it is good. Now I got to go back. I mean, oh, jeez. I got to find my place on this list again. Wow. Roof angle. There we go.
I'd help you. I don't have access to the chat, though.
Yeah, I don't know why that is.
You can't see the comments, Tim?
I can see them. I can't reply.
There
Right.
we go. Okay, so Don is just chiming in. 30 amp hour in Amazon is $120 US. I had something come into my feed, Don, on Amazon. It was a Eco Worthy or something was the brand name, and it was 135 Canadian. I almost bought one. I've got a 30 amp hour sitting right here. It was a 30 amp hour Life PO4 for 135 Canadian. Well, if it's 135 Canadian, this was last week, it's probably going to be, given the disparity in the dollar, you're probably going to be able to pick one up for about $100, I would think, in real dollars. Okay, let me see here. The 6100 might be a better option. This is Mike N2MAK if doing a lot of hike-in activations or even travel. Also, it has a built-in sound card for digital, which the 891 and G90 don't have. You can use a small battery too. Yeah, absolutely. Light, compact, doesn't take as much juice. Great features.
10 watts for digital, no problem.
Yeah. Oh boy. What are we at? Guys, I'm not going to fib. I'm running out of voice. I'm literally running out of voice. So we're probably going to have to pull the plug. And my most humble apologies to everybody here who has left us comments. Thank you very much. But and my day starts early in the morning, so I gotta pull the plug. This has been fantastic. Guys, I've really enjoyed this.
Why don't you just scan down, pick a good one, and we'll do one more, and then I know that suntan, your time in the sun there has wiped you out.
So the suntan, just so people know, I haven't been down south on vacation. I have put more time and effort into trying to get a good video feed from my location, and nothing is working. It's a bad lighting, bad camera. I have not been able to get it figured out.
Here's a great comment.
Look, okay. You said find a nice comment. Here's one.
I found the best one.
K6YYL. Hey, Kim, thanks for joining us. It's really, really nice to have you here.
But the best comment says, I agree with Tim.
Yeah, I haven't found that one yet. I'm still looking for it.
I did see one go by. I don't know if he's talking about you or somebody else.
I'm going to assume.
I think I just skipped right over that one. Oh, boy. Let's see if there's any. Okay, Richard E. Will you all be participating in Winter Field Day? I think Tim said something about can't wait to get out there. But I am going to be out for Winter Field Day. I'm going to be out with my buddy Tom VE3TWM. Tom did the chicken wire video with me that I released earlier this week. We're going to be running 100 watts from an N9 SAB antenna, and I want to have a station that's going to be heard. So I think 15 meters is probably going to be a good place to look for me. And let's hope we can make a contact.
I got my seal blubber. My mucklux. All right. What do I have? I got a rifle for a polar bear in case I run into one of those.
Well, I can tell you right now, yours truly will not be out doing anything on Winter Field Day.
No.
No. Yeah, I guess you. That's not really an option.
It'll be from the basement. And I'll be running.
I'm not doing anything.
1B or something like that.
You guys you all go out there and have fun.
Yeah, I'm cool for that shit now. It's just this is a rough one. No.
Hey, Tim, somebody had asked earlier, who's the Canadian prepper? Nathan is the guy in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, who has a survival preparedness store.
Yeah, that's the guy.
His YouTube videos on his channel, Canadian Prepper.
There you go.
Hey, I always like this. I'm skipping by a bunch, and I apologize. Cody K3KLB, thank you very much for dropping by. Anybody that I haven't had a chance to recognize, please thank you for dropping by. Murphy Barrera, thanks for dropping by. Do you like Wolf River Coils for On the Go Ops? Chris has already made a comment that he likes it.
They're good. Yeah.
And that's it, guys.
Looks like Cody's going to be using an N9 SAB antenna also. You see a little
good choice. Hope it works.
Yeah. Of course. What do you mean? Hope it works. Of course it's going to work.
Hope it works.
All right, guys. Everybody watching, thank you very much for joining us. It's been fantastic. Really appreciate it. Never got to any of the content that I had prepared, and that is 100% okay by me, because we got to do something which was even more fun, which was interact with all of you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for showing up. And we do this stream every month. Typically, the three of us willing, and if our schedules align, it's the third Thursday of every month, 8 o'clock Eastern. That would be 7 o'clock Central. Love to have you in for future streams.
Make sure you, and for both Tracy and I, whoever stream you're watching on, make sure you hit like and subscribe. That way you get notified next time we do this.
Chris's channel, Kilo 2, Charlie Juliet Bravo Radio. If you're watching this on Outdoors on the Air, please get over to Chris's channel. There's a link in the description. Subscribe. Chris has some great stuff over there. Tim, eBay store.
Go check out Tracy's channel too.
I'm gonna have to cheat on you. Sorry, but I'm gonna be on the European Ham Radio Show on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
2:30 Central, I think.
You're spreading your wings. Look at you go.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm like a flower. I just opened.
It's international on us.
And random wires are back in stock now too. The redesigned random wire in multiple colors is up.
Good.
Multiple colors. I like
it. Everybody's been all of a sudden there's all this discussion about random wires. We're doing the random wire a couple of years ago. Nobody batted an eye. Now all of a sudden random wires are chic or in vogue.
Nice. All right.
So I have them.
Well, good luck on the Europe. Say hi to all the European hams for us.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Who's hosting? Anybody I would know?
You know what? I can see all of their faces, but I don't remember. Are
they YouTubers?
Yeah, the European Ham Radio Show. Just Walt's on there sometimes, I think.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like he may be like me, like a semi-permanent guest kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, they do some interesting stuff.
All right.
I know there's a couple of Norwegians, a German guy, sometimes Walt, which I think he counts as Polish, right?
When he's over there, yeah.
Yeah, going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim G5TM pops in there. I know.
Oh, nice.
I've seen him in the chat. So.
Oh, very cool.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's Sunday, 2:30-ish.
All right, good stuff. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody again. It's time to pull the plug. Holy cow, this has been our longest one ever, and it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a blast. This is great.
Yep.
Night.
Okay. 7-3, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye now.
Stay warm.
Yeah.